2025 budget. This is the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners. I believe we'll turn it to staff, Sarah in particular, to walk through the numbers that we came to yesterday. We've done some double checking and some math.
Thanks, Commissioners. Kimmy, if you want to pull up the spreadsheet. I would say that I don't think we have found any issues other than we have heard from the auditor about the transfer from Public Works. And their advice was to not transfer it to CIP, but to transfer it to the Special City County Highway Fund, which is in essence the Road and Bridge Reserve account. So I don't feel like that is available to go directly to CIP. There are some options with that. You could keep this reduction to the CIP transfer in place, knowing that that amount is in Special City County Highway, and then we just direct Chad that he is not allocating it, or he's not using it in 2025. This would be something he would use in a future year, that we can tell him that, and he'll know that there's an amount in Special City County Highway available for it. Or you could not do the reduction, or you could transfer reserves, or we could plan at year end if there are additional funds. I think there's a variety of ways to handle it.
So can you walk through ways that we could preserve that $500,000 that was a relief to mill levy?
That's what I just outlined. So either we could keep the reduction and make the transfer to Special City County Highway so that Chad knows it's there, and it could be allocated in a future year, or you could transfer it out of fund balance and general fund balance, and reduce the mill levy.
Sounds like that's what I was hearing, was taking it out of general fund. So it's still available. It's available for road and bridge projects, but no. How are we getting to the reduction of the 500,000 when that original plan was not allowed by the auditors?
Well, first of all, you can just reduce that line item if you want to. That is a commissioner decision as to how much we allocate of ongoing cash and ongoing revenue to CIP. So you can keep that reduction if you want. We can still do the transfer to maintain our fund balance policy, and that can go into Special City County Highway, and then Chad knows it's over there. And in a future year, when we're working to allocate those funds out, he just knows he's got a project that probably is going to be partially run out of Special City County Highway, which happens. Or you could, if you want to keep that amount, if you're really worried about keeping that amount where it's at, which I appreciate, because when you're cash funded as a CIP, if you don't continue to make those, allocations, then we get behind. I would say you could transfer from general fund reserves, or we could just see at year end how things go. That's what we did this last year when the general fund had a net positive ending fund balance. We moved funds to CIP around $5 million. Yeah, so I am not uncomfortable with keeping that amount there, and knowing that commissioners want to, that we'll just take it into consideration at year end, and that there's going to be money in Special City County Highway.
My only question about the Special City County Highway is, it sounds like that's a fund that Chad Public Works has utilized before. Are there any particular restrictions or constraints that would be helpful for commissioners to understand about that fund and what it's allowed to be used on?
Yeah, so in essence, it is the equipment reserve account for Road and Bridge. And the only reason really why we have the fund at all, it's allowed for in statute. So there's some interesting statutes that allow for it. And it can only be used on capital projects. It cannot be used to pay for staff. It cannot be used to pay for benefits. It cannot be used for those types of things. It is a reserve account for capital projects. So, and it, I have not read the auditor's email in detail, Because but it is because that special city county highway fund that we get into that account is gas tax dollars. And the state, it's like literally the only funds we receive directly from the state anymore is gas tax dollars. And those need to be segregated.
I'm certainly comfortable with the staff recommendation to put that into the special highway fund, but I would like to see the 500,000 mill levy decrease be preserved. Other commissioners?
Yeah, something to think about. I just want to make sure that we're putting enough mill levy into our CIP projects. It seemed like when we were thinking about transferring from road and bridge, that we would be looking at what we're putting into road and bridge in the future and could adjust mill levies. Just wondering, would it make any? I just feel like that when you're sort of describing down the line of Chad just knows that it's there, or we're talking about one-time moves.
Yeah.
This is impacting the mill levy. We got to remember it down the line. Is that what we're saying? I mean,
not necessarily, but I may have gone down a different rabbit hole than you did. No, not necessarily. I think it is definitely something that, Brooke and Chad can, they're intimately aware of the transfers we make. We review that balance. It is included in your budget materials. We do spend out of that fund for projects. So knowing that we have another transfer in there is really not difficult for them. The other option, the other option that my brain went down was, you can adjust the mill levy on road and bridge.
right.
That's money coming into the fund. So, we could, now what that would do is it would mean in 2025, you would be using fund balance to operate the road and bridge fund. That is not sustainable. Eventually, we're going to need to replace that mill levy. And then so that's what worries me a little bit, is then if you'd be transferring that mill levy authority from road and bridge to general, reducing that mill levy, then I can't get it back. Or it requires an action of the commission and some political will to get that back. I would rather use one-time resources, because we're in a situation where we have those available to keep our commitment to CIP. And commissioners, Chad and I will be the first people to come talk to you if we're at all concerned about the over-reliance of one-time dollars in our CIP. I think it's very important that we maintain existing mill levy to that transfer.
I guess just from maybe a historical perspective, and when we close out the budget and the balances that we've had, I would be more apt to wanting to take it out of fund balance than move it to the special highway fund, just because I think I can see that those we've had good years recently. I just worry about our capital projects budget mill levy getting decreased to where we can't sustain some projects. So I'm just struggling with that, but I guess I would be more interested in one-time funds than special highway funds.
So would that mean we would leave the money in road and bridge and go over our fund balance policy, or are you talking about doing both?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I think I would. I guess I would suggest that we reduce road and bridge here and then fill it with a one-time fund balance. That
from the general fund.
From the general.
Okay.
Fund. And other commissioners might think differently about that, but I want to make sure that we're not hitting our CIP mill levy over and over again.
So, but
I may not be making sense.
I think I understand what you're saying, and I think we can do both. I think we can maintain the reduction of, I mean, but unless you're, I think we could maintain the reduction of $500,000 of ongoing mill levy towards this fund, and replace it with one-time dollars. But they're going to come from the general fund, not from special city county highway.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. And then we may still do the transfer to special city county highway from road and bridge to maintain our fund balance policy. But you know, in essence, that's up $500,000 towards these efforts, but it's a reduction in the ongoing support, at least for the time being. Yeah. I'm completely comfortable with that.
I'm not sure it's really changing that much, to be honest.
No.
As I'm working through it in my head and thinking of multiple scenarios, it's not really that much different.
No.
Yeah, I think it's practically identical to what we had up there, just that the transfer to satisfy the audit will be different.
Right.
We also have some of our smaller funds we had talked about maybe coming back in the fall to revisit fund balance policy for some of those that are just practically, and some of those go to partners, like I'm thinking of the opioid settlement and this is and that's that have to add up, accumulate a little bit, and then be allocated for projects otherwise that are too small to manage. Are we planning to come back to our fund balance policy for some of those, or are we just trying to work so we fit within it?
Currently, our fund balance policy does not apply to those. When I went through that in the overview, I just wanted to be very clear because there seems to be a lot of public questions about our fund balance. But our fund balance policy does not apply to those non-operating funds. But I wanted to illustrate that we are actively monitoring, managing them, and that we're actively, following our policy from that perspective. I think we could certainly, I'll review that with you all anytime you want.
Are there other pieces? You said nothing else changed from last night to today, so our numbers are essentially they're the same. Commissioners, did you have any thoughts as we've kind of set on this for an overnight of things that you want to come back and revisit, or are we comfortable with the work we've done?
I don't personally have anything to revisit after reviewing it again last night.
Yeah, I don't think I do either, and I want to be we sort of did the deliberation process, and there were things that maybe was on my budget that weren't on others, and we could certainly go through each one of those again, but I don't think that's really a good process.
I didn't flag anything as I went through, especially. I mean, the things that I might have still wanted to have addressed, we've already talked through and we've gotten to a consensus. So what is our step from here, Sarah?
Well, I'd like direction from the commissioners that they're comfortable with the $4,681,253 reduction in the budget, resulting with an estimated. Yep. That we would proceed towards our public hearing and our revenue, that we would be in excess of our revenue neutral rate, but with a reduction to the mill levy of I think we're sitting at 2.911 mills reduced. So we will notify the county clerk of that. We will prepare our start again. I want to stress again, this is still very tentative while we continue to prepare budget forms and budget information materials. You have a public hearing and a work session at 4:00 on August 7th to hear about our 5-year capital plan, which I think Chad's going to deliver. He just did. Paper copies to the commission today, and we will have that online later today or tomorrow. And then the Consolidated Fire District 1 budget on that August 7th at 4:00 date. And then our public hearing, to prepare for publication in the newspaper, and then our hearing date on the budget is August 24th, 28th. At any point in time, if commissioners, if you're looking at things and you're having conversations, particularly before August 7th, there'd be time to have more conversation.
Can you cover that number? Once again, we have the reduction in mill levy at 2.91. What was the reduction in cash, in the cash equivalent?
Well, it's $4,681,253 just from that line item. There's been other reductions in other places. So that line item, which is where we had excess general fund reserves, or general fund capacity, was placed on that line.
What I heard you say was you need us to move ahead with a non-revenue neutral budget using this mill levy that we have here before us, and move towards our hearing in August, knowing that we still have some other steps to go. Is that right?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
I'm satisfied with that if other commissioners are.
Me too, and I appreciate you detailing, Sarah, what the next steps are for the public to engage. And I'll just throw in that public, we don't have a meeting tonight, a business meeting tonight, but we do next week or tomorrow. Yes, sorry, it's Tuesday, not Wednesday yet. Thank you. We do not have a regular business meeting this week, but we do next week, and then obviously the August 7th meeting will be an opportunity for folks to come hear about the capital improvement project further.
And what you're looking for is just an acknowledgement of moving forward. There's not a vote of any kind that is taken at this point outside of that full public process. So
Correct.
I think I am comfortable with where we have landed.
I think before it sounds like we're on our way to wrapping up. So I think before we do, I just a couple of comments. One, I want to thank staff. This is a very stressful time for our staff. They put a ton of work into putting together the information that we asked for, and then in a span of about 5 days, we asked them for a lot of new information and asked them to work very quickly, and they've been very responsive. And I just want to share my appreciation for staff, not just the people here, but the people, we have IT people here who did a lot of background work on it as well. I also want to thank our community partners who, while we saw them here for hearings, did a ton of work before. And while this mill levy is a decrease, it will be a decrease from what people paid to Douglas County in taxes last year. This will be less than that. I think that's important to say because we hear a lot about, reducing mill levy doesn't always mean reducing my taxes. In this case, with this mill levy, if we stay with it, it does mean reducing your taxes. And so I think that means that there are many partners. I think my total at one point was about $5 million worth of community partner requests and $1 million of internal requests that were denied to get to that reduction of mill levy. So I recognize that that's loss for some of our partners. I recognize that some of the conversations we've had over the past couple of days are not about financial loss, but about organizational control and governance and things like that. So this can be a really tough time, and what some people see as a gain, others see as a loss. And so I want to thank those community partners and our community members who have been involved with us as well in talking about our budget priorities. It takes a community to create this budget, and that means that we have to make value choices, and that's hard work. So just appreciate staff, appreciate our community partners and the entire community for working with us on this budget.
I appreciate those comments. Thank you very much for making them. I'd also express that. I would say we fit this budget around two really big pieces, which is a fire department expansion in the plan, and that's huge, and also the addressing staff salaries. So I really appreciate that we have dug into some places to make this happen, and you're still able to turn back mill levy and tax dollars. So really appreciative that staff helped us to get there and that commissioners were all kind of working for the same goal.
Yeah, I echo those comments, and in addition to appreciating staff and partners and the community, I just want to appreciate my fellow commissioners for what I think is a really, really highly productive, very democratic and collaborative process to talking with each other, talking with our administration and staff and partners in the community about how we work to balance a lot of competing values that I think you articulated well, Commissioner Kelly, and different ways of looking at this overall budget process and what the implications of it are and the opportunities are. So I'm just really proud of us as a commission for holding lots of truths at once and making hard decisions about what to prioritize and triage right now, while being able to, and ultimately being able to expand services ultimately with necessary additions and strategic places internally and externally, while also being able to legitimately lower the tax burden for property owners in our community. And so that feels really good. And I'm really proud that our staff manage finances in a way that give us those options, so that we really have choices in front of us as a commission and are able to openly weigh what those values are and how we strike a balance. So thank you both for your work on that.
Commissioners, I really appreciate your thoughts, and I do encourage that if you have I think we can do some work between now and when we do the public hearing about what that tax rate is and the overall tax burden from 2025 to 2024. And that's some great information as we begin to synthesize this and summarize it for the community. And so please keep it coming if you have additional thoughts on how we do that. And really just want to echo how proud I am of this team. Every year we really strive to build a process that's more, it's better than it was the year before, and that's more transparent and more effective, and I'm really proud of how this whole team came together this year.
I have a final question. So we have a decrease in mill levy of 2.91. We have the value of a mill at 2,040,324. So we have actually then shaved nearly 6 million off of this budget, not just the 4.9. So I just want to make sure that gets to be the story.
Yes, correct. That's why that line of 4 is only that one line item. 4.8, is it? 4.2? I don't remember it. I can't. Yeah, that line. 4.6. So overall, by reducing our mill levy 2.991, and we can get that number that we've, it's been over 6 million.
I have it as 5,937,342.
Right, it's just under 6.
Okay.
Yep.
So with that, I really appreciate all the work that went into this. I didn't think we could get here with those two big pieces. So it took some work and a lot of saying no.
And some real substantial investments in supportive housing.
Yes.
And our work towards a place for everyone. And we were able to do that as well. So I'd only add that third piece in on your kind of big themes.
That's true. Yeah. With that, I believe we are adjourned from the county budget until our next meeting, which will be not Wednesday, but the week after.
Yep, the 24th.
Yes, at 4.
We do not have a work session on the 24th.
We had a work session. No.
Do we? I don't think so. Jake will look real quick. We do not have a work session on the 24th, so we'll be meeting at 5:30.
Perfect. Thank you all. Have a good morning.